They
You were
built
supposed to
50
be here an
houses on the
hour
wrong
ago.
man's
This is
land.
clearly a
No
breach of
warning,
contract.
no
My truck
permission,
broke
just
down.
asphalt,
I can't control the traffic
lies,
or the
and a
weather.
sign that read, only 12 homes left. But this land wasn't empty. It had roots, history, and an owner who knew exactly how to go to war. And if you're wondering how someone screws up that badly, trust me, they picked the wrong guy to steal from. I've never believed in selling off memories for profit. That's why I've held on to my grandfather's land for over 20 years, even when developers dangled more money than most people see in a lifetime. 120 acres just outside the city line, rolling hills, clusters of old oaks, wild deer that still run free at dusk. Some call it undeveloped. I call it sacred. The land came to me when I was 24, after my grandfather passed away. He wasn't big on words, but he always said one thing every summer. I spent sweating with him, mending fences and chopping brush. This land will outlive me, maybe outlive you. Take care of it. And I did. Never built, never leased, just kept it clean and protected. Taxes paid, paperwork airtight, title locked and is safe at home, another copy with my lawyer. Most weeks, I drive out just to breathe away from my cramped suburb, away from fences and HOA rules that made me itch. Out here, wine through the grass was all I needed. Friends kept asking why I didn't do something with a tranche, hunting, lease, housing. I always said, not everything needs to be turned into a strip mall. Besides, the place looked exactly as it did in 1963 when my grandfather bought it with his war pension and those tough hands. It's not just property, it's legacy. So I kept it insured, flew a drone over every few months, updated my info with the county every year. This land was mine legally, spiritually, by blood and by sweat. No liens, no development contracts, no zoning tricks. I made damn sure no one could touch it, which is why that blistering morning when I turned down the familiar dirt road and saw brand new asphalt where my grandfather's favorite grove used to be, something in me cracked. Imagine walking into your childhood home, only to find strangers laughing like they owned it. I slammed on the brakes and just stared. Roads, curbs, underground wiring, and houses dozens of thin cookie-cutter new, lined up like dominoes where there should have been grass and silence. There was a sign, too, flapping in the wind. Willowgate Estates, only 12 homes left from $399,000. It hit me in waves. Shock, confusion, then anger, so sharp it nearly made me dizzy. I stepped out of my truck and into a world that wasn't supposed to exist. Someone had built a whole damn neighborhood on my land, and I had no idea how or who. But I was about to find out. The security guard at the entrance looked me up and down, didn't even try to hide his doubt. I told him I was the landowner. His face went from polite to white in half a second. He grabbed his radio, voice shaking. We need the project manager down here. Enter Karen Mallister. You could hear her heels clicking before you saw Hera, crimson blazer, clipboard in hand, like she was about to audit my entire life. She looked exactly like the type who'd fine a lemonade stand for violating community beverage code. Good morning, she said, all business. Can I help you? I doubt it, I said. I own this land. She didn't blink. I'm sorry. There must be some mistake. This property was acquired by Willowgate Development LLC last year. All documentation is filed and approved. Permits, title transfer, zoning, everything in order. Acquired from who? I asked. Her smile was rehearsed. Our rep worked through a broker, got certified documents from the original landholder. We were told the previous owner was deceased and had no next of kin. I blinked. Lady, I'm the next of kin. There is no sale, no broker, no permission, and my land's not for sale. Not now, not ever. Her smile faltered for just a second. She started flipping through her clipboard, like she could paper-cut reality into submission. We have a notarized grant deed, signed and sealed. The project broke ground 3 months ago with full city approval. My stomach twisted. Forged documents. Someone had impersonated me or my family. and the city must have just rubber-stamped it all. I told her I want to see every permit, every deed. She told me to contact the legal department. I told her the only department I was calling was the sheriff's. Then she tried flattery. Look, Mr. Reeves, is it? People have already bought into this community. Real families. Veterans. Senor. Pulling the plug now would devastate lives. But maybe there's a way we can work this out compensation partnership. I cut her off. You think this is about money? You build on a man's graveyard and think a check fixes that? As I turned and walked away, I heard her mutter into her earpiece. Yeah, we have a situation. Damn right you do. I didn't sleep that night. My brain was on fire. By morning, I was on the phone with my real estate attorney, Frank Delgado, a man who'd once shut down an entire commercial strip over a single zoning loophole. I gave him everything: deed copies, tax records, the original plat map. 30 minutes later, he called back. Declan, they built a whole subdivision on your land using forged documents. This is war. So we went to war. Frank filed a cease and desist with Willowgate LLC, demanding they halt all construction and sales. We filed a restraining order with the court, freezing all transactions. But I didn't stop there. Hired a drone team to fly over the site twice a day. High-res video of the whole development crews, bulldozers, all of it. Every file was time-stamped, geotagged, uploaded to the cloud. Then I went public. Reached out to local news, watchdog blogs, and a regional paper that loves scandal more than Sunday football. I gave them everything: photos, documents, even a shaky video of a contractor admitting they weren't sure who the real owner was. By Thursday, headlines were everywhere. Developer builds 50 homes on the wrong man's land. Legal firestorm erupts. Karen called me that day, voice suddenly less smug, more desperate. Mr. Reeves, let's resolve this quietly. No need to involve the media. Karen, I said, your 3 bulldozers already passed quiet. City planners launched an audit. The building inspector who'd signed off on the permits took sudden sick leave. 3 home sales were canceled as soon as buyers saw the headlines. But the real kicker? One of the supposed residents was a councilman's cousin had already moved in, and now he was up to his knees in scandal. His wife threw a social media fit, called it an attack on middle-class dreams. I nearly choked on my coffee laughing, but the pressure was building underneath. Karen doubled down, putting out statements about landowner confusion and clerical errors. Her HOA cronies started threatening nuisance complaints, painting me as the villain ruining dreams. I had a message for every last one of them. You don't build dreams on stolen dirt. They try to rattle me. Anonymous notes taped to my truck windshield. Fake citations for unauthorized use of subdivision roadways printed on HOA letterhead, signed by K. Malister, President. Goo. Then came the county complaints. Environmental hazards, attracting vermin, threatening workers. None of it stuck, but that wasn't the point. It was a smear campaign meant to wear me down. They even tried surveillance. Contractors parked on the road, cameras pointed at my land, claiming to be doing soil assessments. The guy was wearing boat shoes. I took his picture anyway. But the worst? What they did to the land. One morning, I found fresh concrete poured into a pond near the southern edge. Another time, a grader had crossed the boundary and torn up oaks I'd planted years ago. I set up motion-triggered cameras everywhere. The next week, they caught 2 workers dragging construction debris across the fence, dumping it in a ravine. I called the sheriff. He watched the footage and muttered, "Looks like they're testing your patience." You're damn right. HOA folks started patrolling like a militia, arms folded, standing on lot edges, staring me down. I overheard, "He'll sell." Just wait. He'll sell. They still thought it was about money. Karen showed up during a site visit, brought wine like it was a dinner party. She handed me a document, Code Development Partnership Agreement. I didn't even look at it. Just tossed it on the hood of her Lexus and said, "Karen, this land's not for sale. But if you keep pushing me, your luck will be." Her smile froze. The next morning, someone spray-painted "Land Pirate" in red across my fence. Real original. I left it. It felt almost flattering. I knew now this wasn't a dispute. It was a war of attrition, and they were betting I'd cave before they did. The courthouse smelled like old paper and stale coffee. Never been in one before. Now I was front and center, fighting for a legacy someone tried to pave over. I wore a suit. Not for them for the kill. Karen showed up late, all swagger, her legal team trailing behind. She didn't look worried, just inconvenienced, like the trial was an HOA meeting she'd rather be running. Her eyes never left me. Day 1, procedure. Paperwork, exhibits, evidence logged, tension humming in the air. Day 2, the hammer. We presented the fraudulent grant deed signed by a notary whose license had been revoked 3 years before the sale. The broker, who allegedly handled the transfer, no tax ID, no physical office, a shell identity. Every house sold, every permit filed, every sidewalk poured illegal. The judge, a sharp woman with eyes like cold steel, raised an eyebrow. Do you have any independently verified evidence Mr. Reeves sold this land? Karen's lawyer stammered. We were misled by our broker. The judge, I'm not asking about your broker. Karen blinked, just once. Frank, my lawyer, smiled like a wolf. Then came the drone footage. Aerial shots of bulldozers chewing up trees, footage from after the legal injunction. Crews still working like nothing happened. They weren't just trespassers. They were arrogant trespassers. A contractor testified, said they'd been told the landowner abandoned the property. The sale was a formality. Who told him? Karen Mallister. She said she'd handle the paperwork. Karen flushed red. For the first time, she lost her composure, leaned to her attorney. His something caught by the mic. They weren't supposed to say my name. Oops. Day 4. I took the stand. Told them about my grandfather, about the land, about finding balloons and banners where there should have been grass. I described the harassment, the sabotage, the men parked in SUVs, the fake citations, the trees bulldozed. When I finished, even the clerk looked rattled. Karen took the stand, but only because the judge insisted. She denied forging anything, denied knowing. Claimed she relied on legal professionals. Frank handed her an email. Hers. Don't worry about land guy. He hasn't been here in years. She looked like she'd swallowed a pine cone. After that, it unraveled fast. Jury took 10 hours. The verdict, all development was illegal. HOA unauthorized. Karen Mallister guilty of real estate fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and trespassing. Sentencing, 3 years probation, 400 hours community service manual labor only, no admin work, and a lifetime ban from any HOA or real estate venture in the state. Civil penalties, $110,000 in damages, $50,000 to me for mental distress. Willowgate LLC ordered to pay restitution to buyers and to reimburse the city for illegal infrastructure. And then the Cherry Karen had to write apology letters by hand to every original buyer and to me. I got mine 2 weeks later, white envelope, her initials embossed. I deeply regret the confusion and distress caused. No mention of fraud, just hollow regret and a signature that looked like it was squeezed out through clenched teeth. I framed that letter right next to the deed my grandfather signed in '63. And every time I walk past it, I smile. Because Karen tried to steal something priceless with a lie. And I took her empire down with nothing but the truth and a stack of receipts. Winning didn't feel like slamming a door, it felt like opening one, letting all the fallout rush out like water through a broken dam. The morning after, my inbox looked like a war zone. Realtors begging to amicably transfer their houses back. Neighbors asking if we could just move forward. And one guy wanted to buy my story for a podcast called Suburban Nightmares. Tempting, honestly. But first things first, I got my land back, legally and publicly. The county reissued plat maps, my name on every acre. The fraudulent filings were wiped, city officials issued apologies. The building inspector who'd rubber-stamped it all was quietly fired. The development? A ghost town. Half-built houses stood like bones. Sale signs vanished overnight. Anyone who'd moved and got refunded or sued Karen into oblivion. As for Karen, her reputation as community visionary was buried somewhere beneath a mountain of lawsuits and trash bags. HOA members turned on her instantly, acting like they'd been duped, too. Her court-ordered apology letter leaked online. She started her community service picking up trash in the same park where she used to host HOA barbecues. I drove by once. She was in an orange vest, glaring at a sandwich wrapper like it owed her money. I didn't honk, but I smiled. Contractors tried to spin the whole thing as a miscommunication. Good luck with Thathy Ree still hemorrhaging clients. The land, though, mine again, untouched where it mattered. I filed new title insurance, reinforced every boundary, even trademarked not for sale ever, just for fun. People assumed I'd flip the land and cash out. I didn't. Instead, I threw a party. Land Liberation Day. Not a quiet, only full-blown bash with string lights in the trees, open bar, and a stand-up comic dressed as a fake HOA president handing out citations for excessive laughter. At one point, Frank raised a beer and toasted, "To Declan, the only man I know who turned a land grab into a legal tango and walked away with both the land and the music rights." It stuck with me. This wasn't just about dirt and deeds. It was about legacy, about not letting the Karens of the world weaponize paperwork and fake politeness to steal what's sacred. 6 months later, the land looked untouched, at least by bulldozers. The half-built homes were gone, foundations filled, tire tracks erased by new grass. But I left one Tina sign, 8 feet tall, bolted into stone, impossible to miss. Willow Gate Estates, 50 homes built on the wrong man. Private property, not for sale, still not dead. Underneath, carved into granite, double-check the deed. Don't build on someone else's roots. Tourists take selfies. Realtors bring interns to see it as a cautionary tale. Someone even added it to Google Maps. I don't mind. If it keeps one more Karen from getting power hungry, it's worth it. And every so often, when the sun goes down, I sit under that sign, boots muddy, beer in hand, and watch the sky turn gold over the trees my grandfather planted. I didn't start this fight, but I damn well finished it. Now let me ask you, when does progress cross the line into theft? Where's the line between building dreams and stealing them? If it were your family's land, would you fight or would you fold? I want to hear what you do, and if you've ever gone up against someone who thought the rules didn't apply to them. Tell me, where do you draw the line?
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.